Before we begin, I would like to invite our listeners to a series of workshops starting in January and going through April designed to enhance your healing practice, learn effective self-healing techniques, and teach you how to do Akashic dowsing for yourself. We're calling it the Winter Workshop Extravaganza, and the only thing we're missing is you. Each workshop will be conducted via Zoom, and all participants will receive specially designed workshop materials, live instruction, and plenty of time for individual practice and feedback. Please visit vitalbioenergetics.com and click on the Workshops tab for our list of available workshops. Each workshop has its own dedicated webpage and a 2-minute video introduction telling you all about it. I can't wait to see you there. And now for today's podcast.
Welcome to High Vibes with your host, Bill G. At High Vibes, we're looking into what it means to be a fourth-dimensional being in an ever-changing world. We hope that by listening to our podcast, you can feel a greater sense of peace and connection as we collectively raise our energetic vibration to the next level. And now for today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to High Vibes. I'm your host, Bill G, and today's special guest is Harlyene Goss. Now, Harlyene spent a good 40 years as a medical technician, but now that she's in her retirement years and she's built a new business using tachyons. In fact, she built a tachyon chamber adjacent to her house where clients can come in and experience this very unique, very powerful healing technology. So, Harlyene, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bill. Thank you for having me on.
So, before we get into tachyons, let's just talk a little bit about your journey. What inspired you to go from medical technician to healing facilitator? I love it.
It took me a while to come up with that. Well, I did hospital lab work for over 40 years, and unfortunately, or fortunately, the medical system failed me on 5 major points in my life, and I ended up on a totally holistic journey. And along that way, I tried whatever came my way. I actually, through doing energy work, don't know what modality, cured myself of multiple chemical sensitivities. The journey's been very interesting and a very windy path, but I had learned to trust myself, which was one of my major life lessons, and also to trust my guides and what I felt and heard. And usually, if they send something my way 3 or 4 times, I know it's time to look it up and pay attention to it. And 2 years ago, November, the word tachyon kept coming past my radar. So I looked up tachyon and what it was and so forth, and it really intrigued me. It really resonated. And when I went to go and see if there was a chamber in the area to experience it, unfortunately, none of them were open due to the quote virus. So I went about my life. I totally forgot about it. And 6 months later, I woke up one morning being told I was going to buy land. And I'm going, why am I going to be growing food? And the answer was, well, you probably will down the road. I go, then why am I buying land? I just bought this condo, and I had 2 years previous bought a condo where I figured I'd live until I went into graduated living. And they said, you're going to bring a tachyon chamber into northern New England. And my first thought was, yeah, right, sure. I think you got the wrong person. I was a city girl. I had always lived in cities. I didn't particularly like dirt, had never really grown anything. I was lucky I kept my cat's plant alive for several years. So it was kind of like, I'm not so sure about that. Well, they kept hitting me over the head. So I said, okay, I'll go experience it and find out what it's about. And there was a chamber at this point, the person had a chamber on the border of New York and Massachusetts, and they had just reopened. So I went and I experienced it. And like I do with my meditations, I slept through the whole session. I woke up feeling great, didn't really feel anything different. I'm driving back through Vermont to New Hampshire, and I'm sitting at the only traffic light, I think, between Brattleboro and Bennington. And I'm going, something's different. I don't know what's different, but something's different. And I just came home and thought about it. And I was kind of getting pestering messages from upstairs. So I said, okay, I'll call and find out what it entails to buy a chamber. And it turns out there's two companies that actually make Tachyon chambers. And the first company I pulled up on the website, I did not like how I felt. The energy coming off the website did not give me a good feeling. And I basically said, I'm not doing this. This is not energy I can work with. And they go, no, you got to go to the other company. So I pull up tachyоnchamber.com and I start reading, and the energy coming off of the page was so warm and resonated so deeply with me that I called them. And I got the husband of the couple, Holly and Paris. I got Paris on the phone and told him that I was considering buying a chamber, that it was being requested of me to do this. And he just started to laugh. And he says, that's usually how it starts. He said, I have to tell you, we recently got a major upgrade. We are on Tachyon 3.0. And because it works with frequency and the quantum, he said, they've added the frequency of source love to all of our Tachyon products. He said, before we go any further, you need to experience the new technology. And there is one that was just sent to Amherst, Massachusetts, not too far from you. I said, okay, fine. So he gives me the number. I call the gentleman. I drive down. I actually get a flat tire on my way back. And I handled it totally different. And yes, I slept through that session too. And I felt good, but no different. I then, because of what was going on in my head, sent an email to some friends and asked them if it resonated with them, would they please go and check it out and give me some feedback? I'm thinking about bringing the technology into Northern New England. And several of them did. Each one of them came back with a different story, all of it good. Everybody had different reactions. And I'm on the fence about it. And I get an email from the gentleman in Amherst, and he said, you have sent me so many people. He says, I'd like to gift you another session. So I went for a third session, slept through that one too. That drive was very smooth. It was really good. And now I'm like 80% sure I'm going to do this. I'm now working on my finances and how to figure out how to pull it out of which retirement funds and so forth. A friend of mine had been in a major car accident and she had 4 hip surgeries. All surgeries had failed. She could not sit for more than an hour and a half to 2 hours without her hip locking up and going into severe pain. And every year they made a 10-hour drive to a family reunion every summer, and they'd have to stop 5 and 6 times. She said this time she had gone for 2 sessions in the chamber, and she wasn't having problems with her hip. She says at about 4 hours into the drive, the kids started harassing her because they needed to stop. At that point, I knew it was something I needed to bring in, because I also found out that the gentleman in Amherst was moving down to North Carolina. So that meant that there were only 2 chambers in New England, one down in Farmington, Connecticut, and then the one I was bringing in here to Northern New England. So at that point, I knew it was something I had to do. And I just felt that the energy needed to have a dedicated space. I didn't think a storefront or anything like that would be appropriate. I don't know why I felt that. And I was really lucky. By trusting my guides, they showed me probably over 100 properties online. They only sent me to 6. Now, I've never bought anything on my own except for this condo. And condos are a lot easier than property.
Yeah.
And they would tell me, this isn't it, but there's something you need to see here. The 6th property, I saw it on a Thursday night, and I was told this is it, and I have to move fast. I had an appointment Saturday morning. I saw the property for 20 minutes. As I'm driving up the street, I'm being told this is the property. We closed 3 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 weeks after that, I was in the house living, having replaced some floors and had it completely painted and cleaned. So to me, that just told me I did the right thing.
So now you have this chamber. It's in your house, and you're in Wakefield, New Hampshire.
Correct. Right off of Route 16. I'm about 20 minutes north of Rochester and about a half hour south of Conway.
Okay. And so, all right, so you got this chamber now. And so now let's talk about what it is. I mean, most people have never heard of tachyons outside of Star Trek. So
True.
Tell us a little bit about what are tachyons, and how do they facilitate healing energy?
Okay. So basically, tachyon are subatomic particles that move faster than light. And what they do is they go to the center of an atom and they start balancing and harmonizing that atom. And it brings it to what they call 0 point energy, which is basically neutral. And that locks that energy into place, and it's permanent. So then it seeks to balance the atoms around it. Once they reach that 0 point energy, it locks it into place, and it's permanent. So it keeps working around it. It can work on your energy field, your physical field, your etheric field. It neutralizes the EMFs that come out of all our electronics. The way tachyon came about, Holly actually, the oracle that got this information in the second company, the angels came to her in the middle of the night, the ascended masters, and asked her to bring this in. And basically, tachyons, it actually infuses the physical matter, and it permanently changes the molecules at a quantum level. And it's the subatomic particles that do that. Because things are balanced, it decreases the entropy, so things stay healthier longer, even exposing things to heat. I have a plate that I keep in my refrigerator that I buy arugula all the time. It's my favorite lettuce, but I only used to get to eat like 2/3 of a container before it went bad. Now with that plate in the refrigerator, I get to eat the whole container. I don't throw a third of the container away anymore because it doesn't go bad as fast. It lasts longer because it stays in balance longer. Tachyon is completely safe because it harmonizes and balances. So the only real side effect that might happen, which is a slight detoxification. Because when you release an imbalance, you'll have some kind of release. And sometimes there is a slight detoxification, especially with people that have chronic illness. I generally recommend people that have not done healing work or experienced energy to do a 30-minute session initially, just to feel it. And also this way, if they're going to detox, it won't be so drastic. And then once they've experienced it and it resonates with them, then come back for 45 minutes or an hour.
So describe to me the tachyon generator and basically the room itself. Maybe just walk us through an experience.
Okay.
You arrive. If someone arrives at your home to to experience the Tachyon chamber, what happens next?
Okay, so somebody will come in and I'll take them over. I actually built a room that's dedicated to the Tachyon. I closed off one of the bays in my garage and built a room specifically for the Tachyon. They'll come in, I'll have them take their shoes off. I'll give them a pair of socks to put on that are fairly warm, but also so this way they can walk around and feel comfortable. And then I'll have them sit in a recliner. It's a really comfortable recliner from what everybody tells me. And I agree. And there's a pad on the recliner that is all Tachyon. And I'll cover you with another pad that is tachyonized. There are 6 acrylic holders that hold 35-pound glass spheres with holographic Metatron cubes in them. And the acrylic stands also have Metatron cube on them. So you are surrounded by this, and above you is double layered etched sacred geometry plates that are held in a copper tubing above your head. When you switch that on, it starts building tachyon particles, which actually are brought in from the 12th dimension. And it literally forms an etheric room completely around you. Now, generally, I will go in a half hour before somebody comes. 1, turn the heat up, and 2, to turn the generator on. So when you walk into just the room, you're already starting to feel the tachyon. So once we have the pads on and the chair reclined, you've got an eye mask that has 2 tachionized sticks in them. So you're blindfolded, but you're getting the benefit of the tachyon on your eyes, which is very relaxing. You're also listening to tachionized music in a headset. And you're holding 2 what we call mega rods, which is the strongest tachyon you can get outside of the Tachyon chamber. And you can put those rods, they're about 10 inches long. You can put them wherever you want on your body, wherever you might have an extra ache or whatever. I tell people that they can turn around and when you go in with a thought process and in gratitude, you can give a list of everything you want, but always end it with the caveat or whatever's in my highest good, because you don't always get what you think you're going to get. I found out with my experiences, because having slept through them and not really, except for the first time, I never really felt a shift per se, that I went and a friend of mine's a medical intuitive, and I said, I want you to sit down and find out for me what happened in each one of my sessions. And I'll sit down and douse and find out mine, and we'll compare answers. And it was really funny because our answers were like almost identical. My first healing was an emotional healing, which made sense to me. And then I was told my second one was an emotional healing. And my comment was, I was that screwed up. And they go, no. The first one was present life trauma. Second one was past life and generational trauma.
Yeah.
And on the third one, my girlfriend said, did you have a problem with your knees? Because all I got was knees. And when I asked, they said, and how's your knee? And I had to bend my left knee. I have gravel in my knees. I was one of these kids that got pushed off of one of those roundabout things and didn't let go. And my parents had to take me to the emergency room to get the gravel and sand out, but they didn't get all of it out. So as I've gotten older on especially my left knee, it literally was like sandpaper, and I really had worn out the meniscus. So I was like bone on bone at times, depending upon how I move my knee. Well, it's been a year since last June that I had that session. But I had to bend my knee because when the pain is gone, you don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody that's come out has had a different experience. I've had somebody come out of the chamber afterwards with a complete checklist for a business idea she had. She had gone in, it had been on her mind. but it wasn't what she asked for.
Mm-hmm.
But she came out with a complete checklist, and it actually worked out perfectly to a T for her. I've had other people that have just said that they felt really good, and then a couple days later, one woman texted me and said, "You know something? I still feel absolutely fabulous. Something has shifted. I have no idea what, but I am more focused than I've ever been." So, and then I've had other people say that they've had a pain go away. So everybody's experience is different.
So your ideal client, the person, someone who would be seeking out this chamber, could be someone with a variety of different issues that they're dealing with.
Correct. Actually, everybody can benefit from it if they're open to the idea of frequency medicine and some of the new holistic methodologies, of which this is one of the new ones that are coming out. And there's going to be more and more coming out as time goes on with the quantum and frequency modalities. People have to go with what resonates. If Tachyon speaks to you, and it's very interesting because I have had people that have heard about it and called me. They read it, saw the ad in Wisdom magazine. And I had one woman, she says, every time I opened the magazine, it was to your ad. She said, so I think I'm supposed to come. And it really resonated with her, and she's come back. They recommend that you actually don't make a decision until you've had 3 sessions. Because one, you're introducing a new energy to your system. And then each one, because Tachyon, once something has been harmonized and balanced, it's permanent. It's irreversible. So it literally builds layer on layer on layer of things that are harmonized. Now, I've laid in the chair and I sleep through a lot of it, but sometimes I doze in and out. And I have felt like somebody tracing a spiral on my leg. I've had a splitting headache for like 2 minutes and it's gone. I didn't have one before. It kind of passed through and then it was gone. So whatever it was, it released something and balanced it. And I've heard that from other people. Some people feel tingles. Some people feel it in their heart. It's hard to describe. For the ideal person, I like it when it's somebody that's done their energy, that has been doing some energy work and wants to take it to the next level, because it's complementary. Whatever modalities you're working with and you're releasing, this now balances that space and fills it with source love. So it actually gives you a double healing in a sense.
Wow. That's fascinating. So your website is dancingheart.us?
Correct.
So for the benefit of people who may not be living anywhere near New England, could you give the name of the website of where you got the equipment so that maybe they can look up someone who is near them?
That would be wonderful, because there's also some drop downs that give a lot more detail about Tachyon and people's experiences, and Holly's experience when they came to her and asked her to flood the earth with Tachyon, because Tachyon actually heals Mother Earth and helps her with her ascension. When you're in this chamber, you're literally in this etheric room. It goes down to the core of Mother Earth. It goes up to the heart of Central Sun. So you're literally forming a column that is benefiting not just you, but the earth. The website is tachyоnchamber.com. They've got some wonderful information. They also have a store with different kinds of products that you can use. The other website for them is tachyonliving.com.
That's great. And hopefully, someone listening to the show may be like, hey, I need to get myself a Tachyon chamber, or maybe I should do that too. So that would be phenomenal to have more and more people putting this modality out there. So
yes.
So Harlyene, thank you so much for being on the show today. And thank you everyone out there for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Bill and Nina G, please go to www.vitalbioenergetics.com. See you next time.